What if everything you've ever needed to transform your life was already inside you? Not in some distant future, not after another book, course, or breakthrough moment, but right here, right now. The truth is, most people don't need more information. They need a spark, a moment of truth that shakes them out of autopilot and forces them to ask, what am I really capable of? You've probably felt it before, that quiet voice inside that whispers, there's more to your life, more to your potential. But then the noise of the world takes over. Responsibilities, fears, routines, and that voice fades into the background. Days turn into years, and you tell yourself stories to stay comfortable. This is just who I am. Maybe someday. I don't have what it takes. But deep down, you know those are lies. Well, practiced ones maybe, but lies all the same. There's something powerful that happens when you stop waiting for permission, when you stop shrinking yourself to fit a version of life that doesn't inspire you. The moment you realize that you are not your past, not your circumstances, and not your limitations, is the moment your life begins to shift. It doesn't take years. It takes a decision, because inside you there's a force that's been waiting to be awakened, a power that doesn't depend on perfect timing or flawless confidence. It simply needs your attention. Once you choose to tap into it, everything changes, not instantly, but profoundly. The world around you starts to reflect the world within you. You stop playing small. You stop apologizing. You stop holding back. And you start living not by default, but by design. That's not hype. It's truth. You already have what it takes. The question is, will you claim it? Every person reaches a moment in their life when they realize that something has to change. It might come quietly during a restless night, in a moment of frustration, or even in a flash of clarity while sitting in traffic. You feel the weight of everything you've been tolerating, the gap between who you are and who you know you could be. And in that moment, you can either retreat into comfort or step forward into growth. We live in a world that constantly tells us to look outside ourselves for answers. We're taught that success comes from doing more, achieving more, or acquiring more. But true, lasting change doesn't begin with what's outside. It begins with something far more powerful, what's inside. At the core of every transformation story is a moment when someone finally decided to stop waiting, stop blaming, and stop settling. They made a shift, not just in their habits, but in their identity. They stopped asking, can I do this? And started saying, this is who I am now. That shift is available to you right now. You don't need to wait for the perfect time, the perfect plan, or the perfect version of yourself to appear. You have everything you need to begin the journey toward the life you want. You may have scars, doubts, or fears, but you also have resilience, intelligence, and the ability to choose something different. And choice is where your power lives. It's not about pretending everything is okay or forcing positivity. It's about facing your reality with honesty and courage. It's about recognizing that while you may not control everything that happens, you absolutely control how you respond, how you grow, and what you become. This is where real power begins, not in the absence of challenges, but in your willingness to rise in the face of them. You are not here to live a life of quiet frustration or passive existence. You're here to stretch, to rise, and to lead yourself into a future that excites and fulfills you. It starts with the decision to stop living by default and start living by design. This isn't about changing who you are. It's about becoming who you've always been underneath the noise, the fear, and the hesitation. That version of you is ready. And the only question is, are you? The biggest challenge most people face isn't lack of talent, intelligence, or opportunity. It's disconnection from their own inner strength. We've become experts at survival, but not so great at fulfillment. We know how to function, how to push through, how to meet expectations, but somewhere along the way, we forget how to feel alive. We become so conditioned to meet external demands that we lose touch with who we are, what we want, and what we're capable of becoming. It's not because we're lazy or unmotivated. It's because we've been trained to look outside ourselves for answers. We wait for the right job, the right partner, the right time. We think we'll finally be ready once everything is in place. But that perfect moment rarely comes. And in the meantime, we settle. We tell ourselves stories to make it bearable. This is just how life is. Maybe someday. Other people can, but not me. These beliefs become invisible barriers, ones we carry for so long we don't even question them anymore. Even when we try to change, it often doesn't last. We start strong, new goals, new plans, new habits, but we fall back into old patterns. Why? Because we're trying to create external change without addressing the internal blueprint that's running the show. You can change your actions temporarily, but if your identity doesn't shift, you'll always be pulled back to where you started. The real challenge isn't behavior, it's belief. And the most dangerous belief is the one that says, this is all there is for me. That belief steals energy, drive, and vision. It convinces us to shrink our dreams, to silence our voice, to accept a life that feels safe but empty. The problem isn't a lack of dreams, it's a lack of alignment between who we are and how we're living. There's a gap between what we know in our gut and what we see in our reality. And that gap can feel overwhelming, even paralyzing. But here's the truth. The problem isn't permanent. The challenge isn't undefeatable. It's just a reflection of a disconnection, a forgetting of power, purpose, and possibility. When we remember what we're truly made of, everything changes. The way we walk into a room, the decisions we make, the goals we set, it all shifts. But first we have to get honest about the real problem, not the circumstances, but the story we've been telling ourselves about who we are and what we deserve. Trusting change doesn't begin with motivation. It begins with a decision, one that comes from a deep, honest confrontation with yourself. The moment you stop negotiating with your limitations, everything begins to shift, not because the outside world suddenly cooperates, but because your inner world realigns with who you really are. True power isn't about forcing yourself to do more, reconnecting with the part of you that doesn't need to be pushed because it's already pulled by a greater vision. So what does that shift look like? It starts with awareness. You begin noticing the patterns you've been repeating, the habits, the thoughts, the excuses that keep you circling the same challenges. You stop blaming circumstances, people, or timing, and instead start asking, what am I creating? What am I allowing? What do I really believe about myself? That level of honesty is uncomfortable, but it's also freeing because once you see the truth, you can change it. The next step is ownership. You realize no one is coming to rescue you. That can feel heavy at first, but it's actually the most empowering realization you can have. You are the author. You are the decision maker. Every choice, how you speak, what you focus on, what you tolerate, is the vote for the kind of life you're building. When you begin to own that power, your energy changes. You stop waiting and you start creating. Then comes alignment. You begin to act as the version of you who already believes in your worth. You stop chasing approval and start pursuing meaning. You say no to what drains you and yes to what fuels your growth. You don't wait until you feel confident. You act boldly and the confidence follows. Action creates momentum and momentum builds identity. The more aligned your actions become with your true values, the more natural it feels to rise above the old path. Along the way, you will face resistance. The mind will try to pull you back into the familiar, but that resistance is not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're evolving. Growth never feels like ease in the moment. It feels like stretching beyond what's comfortable, but that stretch is where the transformation lives. This process isn't about becoming someone else. It's about shedding everything that's not really you, the doubts, the masks, the limits. What's left is the version of you that's always been there, powerful, clear, and ready. There comes a moment in every journey where everything changes, not because the world around you shifts, but because you do. It's the moment you stop running from discomfort and start stepping into it. You stop looking for shortcuts and start trusting your ability to grow through the challenge. It's not loud or dramatic. It's quiet, internal, and unmistakably real. It's the moment when you say, enough playing small, enough waiting for a sign, enough hiding your potential behind fear, doubt, or perfectionism. You realize you've been waiting for permission, waiting to feel ready, strong, fearless. But that version of readiness never arrives. What shows up instead is the truth. You don't need to be fearless to take action. You just need to be honest. You just need to decide that your growth matters more than your comfort, that your future matters more than your fear. In that instant, something inside you wakes up. It's not about suddenly knowing how everything will work out. It's about knowing that you'll figure it out no matter what. This is the key moment when you stop living by the stories that have kept you stuck, when you stop defining yourself by your past, when you stop trying to fit into someone else's mold and start becoming the person you were meant to be. It's not just a mental shift, it's a cellular one. You feel it in your posture, in your tone, in the decisions you start making. You become the leader of your life, not a bystander to it. You begin showing up differently, with more presence, more fire, more clarity. People notice, but more importantly, you notice. You trust yourself a little more. You speak up when you used to stay quiet. You take the first step even when the entire path isn't clear. That's how real change begins, not with guarantees, but with courage. This is the turning point, the place where fear meets power, where the past no longer writes the script, and where possibility becomes your new standard. Everything that comes after this moment is different because you're no longer trying to change from the outside in. You've connected to something deeper, something that can't be shaken. And once that power is awakened, there's no going back. There's a point in life when you stop asking for change and start becoming it. Not because everything suddenly aligns, but because you've made the decision to align yourself. You've confronted the excuses, the patterns, and the fear. You've seen what playing small costs you, not just in missed opportunities, but in the quiet erosion of your confidence, your joy, your sense of purpose. And now you're ready to do something different, not someday, but today. The truth is, nothing outside of you has to change before you begin. You don't need a new title, a new relationship, or a new plan to start living with intention. All it takes is a shift in ownership. The moment you stop outsourcing your power and start claiming it, the world responds. Because when you lead your life from within, you're no longer waiting, you're creating. And that creation doesn't come from pretending to be someone else. It comes from fully stepping into who you already are beneath the noise, the fear, and the hesitation. Growth isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming real. It's about shedding everything that no longer serves you, outdated beliefs, inherited limitations, and the stories that tell you to stay small. When you strip those away, what's left is the real you. And that version of you doesn't just survive. They lead, they love, they inspire, not because they have all the answers, but because they've stopped waiting to be ready. The change you're seeking starts now, and it starts with you. No one else can do it for you. No one else has your vision, your voice, your fire. That's your responsibility and your gift. You're not here to live on autopilot. You're here to wake up, to rise, and to become the example of what's possible when someone refuses to give up on themselves. But this isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new chapter, one you get to write moment by moment, decision by decision. The challenges will still come. But now you're different. You're not waiting for strength. You've remembered where it lives, inside you. Always has, always will. And once you decide to live from that place, everything changes. Not just for you, but for everyone around you. Now's the time to decide. Not to wish, not to plan endlessly, but to decide fully, unapologetically, and with the kind of commitment that doesn't wait for things to feel easy. This is your life, your moment. No one is coming to push you, to hand you the perfect conditions, or to map out every step ahead. That's your role, and you're ready for it. You don't need to overhaul everything overnight. You just need to take one meaningful step in the direction of the life you know you're meant to live. That might mean having a conversation you've been avoiding, setting a boundary where you've been silent, finally starting the project that's been burning inside of you, or simply choosing to stop telling yourself the story that you're not enough. Choose one action today, something small but significant, that reflects the person you are becoming. Not the one you've been stuck being, but the version of you that is clear, powerful, and aligned. Write it down, speak it out loud, take the first step. Don't wait until it feels perfect. Act now and let the momentum build. Reclaim your energy, stop pouring it into things that drain you, and start investing it in what fuels you. Replace old patterns with new standards. Refuse to tolerate what no longer matches the vision you hold for your life. You are not here to play it safe. You're here to grow, to expand, and to make an impact. That starts with action, real, tangible, uncomfortable action. Look in the mirror and remind yourself that the power you've been searching for has always been within you. You don't need more time. You need more truth. Stand in that truth. Live from it. Let it guide how you show up in every room, every decision, every moment. This is your invitation to stop waiting and start leading, to stop doubting and start creating. You've felt the shift. Now move with it. Your future is not something you find. It's something you claim. So take the step, back yourself, and begin right here, right now.